Howdy, 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 my name is Tanashi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read these things. It happened, like, a very short while ago. You should remember. And in this one, we're going to be doing Organ Eater, Altruistic Utopia, Automatic Artist, Illustrated Climbing Vine, and Watch for the White Bird. Organic Eater. It's Euclid, and it looks disgusting. Well, it kind of looks disgusting while also looking like the landscape of a planet from No Man's Sky. 751 is to be kept in a hermetically sealed container with a volume of 1 cubic meter. The container must be contained at high humidity, and nutrients detailed in Document A are to be injected into the container on a daily basis. If a containment breach occurs, all on-site personnel are to be awakened and the sprinkler system filled with a high concentration saline solution and activated. Once its body is located, it is to be disposed of according to standard Euclid disposal procedure. 751 is an amorphous parasite that feeds off the organs of humans and other mammals. What was it called again? Yep. It weighs approximately 2 kilograms before infesting a host and can weigh as little as 25% of this after reproduction. The majority of 751's mass consists of an unknown substance with a gelatin-like consistency, N unknown, with red veins running through it. Analysis has revealed that the veins contain a mix of blood from its progenitor's hosts, along with varying anesthetics and immunosuppressive drugs. A full list of these chemicals is available in Document C, which is probably not here, and I'd be kind of surprised if it was. 751 lives in damp environments such as freshwater bodies of water, swamps, rainforests, and sewers. It will leave these environments when in search of a host, traveling for a maximum of 12 hours before succumbing to dehydration. It has been observed to move through sewer pipes, water lines, and across most terrains, with the notable exceptions of sand and bodies of salt water. It is theorized that 751 hunts potential hosts by detecting carbon dioxide and octanol, although this is unconfirmed as a blankety blank blank. 751 begins its feeding process by settling on top of a sleeping host's stomach region and begins to enter the skin by osmosis. I have been using that word the right way! Huh! Anesthetics in 751's veins mix with the host's blood at this time, minimizing the chance of the host's awakening during the process. Once within the host's body, 751 comes to rest inside the stomach, quickly shaping itself to line the gastric walls. Over the course of the next 2 or 3 hours, 751 adapts its own composition to closely match that of the host's stomach, maintaining digestive processes. When the host awakens, there is little or no evidence of any incident, and the host will continue under its normal routine. Over the next 3 to 4 days, it will digest the host's stomach, using it to build up its own mass for further expansion. It will then slowly expand to engulf and digest other organs in the host's body, generally starting with the intestines and moving to the liver, kidneys, and lungs. 751 will adapt itself to mimic each of these organs in turn, maintaining all of the host's bodily functions and releasing immunosuppressant chemicals to prevent rejection by the host. The entire process takes approximately 1 month in a human host and longer and larger hosts. After its feeding period, 751 reverts back to its original composition in a matter of minutes. This process lowers 751's density considerably, causing it to swell to a size that the host body cannot contain. The host's skin will stretch and then burst, releasing 751. At this point, it will reproduce, dividing into 10 to 20 smaller entities, which then move to the nearest damp area to grow in preparation for hunting their own hosts. Addendum: request to experiment with modifying 751 for use in organ transplants approved by Dr. Blank. That sounds like an absolutely terrible idea. Altruistic Utopia. Sounds like it's... Yep. I was about to say, that sounds like it's probably going to be a bad thing, even though both of those are good words, and then it's Keter. So, Areas 752, 1 through 4 have been constructed around the 4 known entrances to 752. No personnel are permitted to enter 752, although unmanned infiltration missions using technology taken from inside 752 are permitted. In the event of an uncontrollable containment breach, Protocol Shangdu 47 must be implemented. Otherwise, termination is not advised, as it could lead to the release of one in the event of failure. Captured instances of one must be transported to Site 17 for questioning and examination, and under no circumstances allowed to return to 752. Instances of one found approaching any of the 752 sites are to be terminated on site. Description: SCP-752 is an underground city in the northern Blank Mountains, spanning blank kilometers squared, population approximately 10,000. An array of electric lighting devices powered by geothermal generator create day and night, matching the rhythm of the outside world. A shield built of an unknown metal surrounds the entire city and blocks all known signals and radiation, including sonar. Study of this metal is restricted to on-site efforts to minimize the chances of containment breach. One are the inhabitants of 752. Physically, they appear human. However, the social behavior exhibited by one in large groups bears no resemblance to that of humans or any other social mammal, although parallels exist in ants and other social insects. Individuals of one possess no self-interest whatsoever and are motivated solely by desire to advance the greater good of 752. One currently possesses technology significantly more advanced than exists outside of 752, however their rate of progress has begun to stagnate. Documents recovered at the sites indicate that 752 was constructed blank hundred years ago by a group of unidentified scientists and philosophers operating under the alias Eudaimon. Daimon? One was engineered by Eudaimon as an attempt to create an ideal society. Documents 3, recovered from Site 1. Day 1. Population 100. What a glorious new day! This is the day Homo Daimonia will set their calendar by. After the last battery of mass testing, we've introduced 50 males and 50 females to the final testing area. Nothing but them, the artificial sun, the temple, and the few animal and plant species we've introduced for domestication. Nothing left for Eudaimon now but to observe. Year 8, Day 24. Population 124. Population growth has been above normal as expected from our eudaimoniacs. Instead of competing, they cooperate with one another in everything. All of the animal species provided have been successfully domesticated for food and labor. No signs of agricultural activity yet. Technical progress is proceeding as expected based on the data we left for them in the temple. Year 15, Day 212. Population 170. Growth has continued, showing marked deviance from normal human social behavior. Whereas Homo sapiens was never intended to live in groups of more than a few hundred, Eudaimonia will function perfectly in groups of thousands or millions. Agriculture going at full tilt now, making use of the available aquifers for irrigation. Deviant behaviors have begun to emerge. The taboo against cannibalism seems to have vanished, and dead eudaimoniacs are being consumed for sustenance. Additionally, disabled or feebled individuals are suiciding or being killed at a worrying rate. Beta 1 wants to interfere, try to lay down moral guidelines, but Alpha 1 insists that finding these things repulsive is one of the problems with our society, and any interaction could taint the eudaimoniacs. Technical development is proceeding significantly faster than estimated rates. Construction has begun on several structures of unknown purpose, an interesting development considering that no actual buildings previously existed in Eudaimonia. Year 24, Day 4. Recovered from Site 752-2. Population growth has suddenly exploded, nearly doubling in less than a decade. Presumably this increase is related to the structures. Some other extremely worrying behaviors have begun to emerge. The eudaimoniacs have developed a meritocracy caste system and are forcing the strongest and least intelligent to build for them. No, not forcing. The workers do it voluntarily, but they're working themselves to death. In fact, everybody in the society is being worked to death. Estimated life expectancy is about 45, and we proved in the initial testing that eudaimoniacs can live to 150 easily. No signs of cultural development so far, except that they've built the vague hints of a divine creator called Eudaimon into a brutally strict moral system. On the bright side, they've taken to heart the idea that one day the Eudaimon will come back for them and lead them to another world, as we'd intended. We've been calling these odd behaviors deviant, but they're not. The society has no deviance. All innovation is judged based on its merits and implemented or discarded. I'm starting to have serious doubts about the value of this whole thing. Alpha 1 and his team of geneticists seem oddly unsurprised by these developments. I bet they knew this would happen. Site 1, Year 40, Day 325. Population approximately 1,000. Population continues to climb. Technological prowess continues to increase exponentially. At this rate, they will reach our level well before the release date. Beta, Gamma, and Delta have no vision. They grow increasingly disgusted by my wonderful creations. I would never have taken them on the project, but I needed their expertise to construct a development chamber. I have taken measures to ensure they never discover the contents of Eudaimonia's nurseries. Hopefully this will be sufficient to forestall a mutiny. Document 314. Year 70, Day 87. Delta 1, population approximately 3,000. Population growth shows no signs of slowing. High-rise type shelters are now being constructed in addition to the unknown buildings to allow for further growth. Technological advancement continues to exceed all expectations. We can only hope that it will stagnate once they get through what we left in the temple. Undesirable behaviors have worsened. Gamma attempted to intervene and was slaughtered. The rest of us attended a full coup against Alpha. Alpha 3 pretended to sympathize and managed to fatally poison most of Beta. Nevertheless, the coup was a success. We still don't know what's in those buildings, but considering what happened to Gamma, we're not touching it. Alpha 1, 2, and 5 escaped. The others are dead or captured. We've disabled the release mechanism and sealed off the place as much as we dare. The Eudaimoniacs still believe that there's no world beyond that shield Gamma built. Now, hopefully they'll never learn otherwise. Unmanned Exploration Unit 752A was sent into 752 on blank 2000-something. Footage recovered from within the nursery structures indicates an extensive and apparently voluntary data expunged before conception. UEU, the unexplained blah blah blah, went offline blank hours into the expedition, and within 2 months, technology evidently derived from it was seeing extensive use in 752. Further expeditions must use as little advanced technology as possible. As direct competition between Homo sapiens and 752-1 is projected to lead to an SK-class dominance shift, one must be kept ignorant of the world outside their cavern at all times. So, I'm not 100% sure I understand why this counts as a Keter entry. It's an underground city with 10,000 people in it, and they think it can cause a SK-class dominance shift. But there's 7 billion Homo sapiens and 10,000 of these other dudes. What do they think 10,000 people are going to do against 7 billion people who are really, really gun-happy? All they really need to do is just cave in the entrances. There's what, 4 of them? How many, did it say how many entrances there are? I believe it said, yeah, there's 4 entrances. Just cave those in. Automatic artist. Which is safe, and strange looking, and from Marshall Carter in Dark. I think the last time we heard from Marshall Carter in Dark was that whole cannibalism nonsense. 753 is currently contained at Sector 28, located on blank blank. SCP-753 is to be contained in a 6x6 meter holding cell, monitored by surveillance cameras at all times. It is to be provided with 5 liters of each primary color of paint each day, along with 24 standard painted canvases. All paintings created by 753 are to be recorded by research staff. In the event that it attempts to destroy itself, security personnel are to restrain it and await further orders from research staff. Why would it try to destroy itself? It looks like it's made of carbines, or stretchy keychain doodads with an eyeball. 753 is a highly advanced automaton, approximately 10 centimeters across, 6 centimeters wide, and 8 centimeters tall. It possesses 2 pincer-like limbs protruding from its main circular body, which it uses to slowly move itself across the ground. This is likely due to 753's locomotive functions having been damaged at an unknown point in its history. At the center of its body is a red sensory organ similar in structure to that of the human eye. The eye appears to be organic, but is likely artificially produced. It's also damaged, leaving it partially blind. A Marshall Carter Dark Ltd logo has been engraved on its back. Interior analysis of 753 shows that it moves by using a rudimentary nervous system, coordinated by an extremely small spherical brain. Above its body is a small receiver, the purpose of which is currently unknown. It appears ignorant of its surroundings and does not recognize the presence of personnel. 753's primary purpose appears to be the creation of paintings. Paintings produced by it are highly realistic and often do not correspond to real locations. Recently, paintings created by 753 have mostly involved in some way its death. 753 was initially returned to Marshall Carter in Dark Limited by one of their clients, who complained that it was broken. Blank Blank, a Foundation mole within the organization, was able to retrieve 753 before incineration. 753 usually produces 1 painting per hour. When it is not provided with adequate paint or painting canvas, it appears to enter a dormant state, shutting down for a minimum time length of 1 week. As this heavily impedes research, it is to be kept stocked with paint and canvases at all times. It does not appear to be concerned about completed paintings, and generally ignores them after they are finished. Let's see. Image of an ocean. Water observed being red. Unidentified aquatic creature bearing resemblance to a platypus is jumping out of the water. Closer inspection reveals that 753 has been crushed in its jaw. Lit furnace. Unidentified red humanoid climbing out of furnace. It is visible inside the furnace. An image of a human eye against the starry background. It's drifting towards the eye, which is observing it. Image of a city. Appears to be constructed from web and populated by giant spiders. It is visible trapped in a web with a spider moving towards it. Nuclear explosion. Silhouette resembling 753 is visible in the explosion. Image of its containment area. It appears to have shut down. Researcher Assistant Blank is inspecting 753. Closer analysis shows that Research Assistant Blank lacks eyes. Image of Sector 28 disposal facility. Maintenance worker Blank is activating the incinerator. 753 is visible among the waste. Image of a restaurant. Patrons are pointing at a chandelier which has fallen from the ceiling. 753 is visible under the chandelier. Image of a cottage. A man is walking towards the cottage holding an axe at a smashed 753. Image of a desert. A creature resembling a six-legged wolf is in the process of destroying 753. Image of a forest. Indistinct human figures are visibly hanging from nooses. Notably, it appears to be absent from the painting. Image of a forest. They're no longer hanging, but on the ground looking directly forward. One is holding a crushed 753 in its fist. Image of an indistinct human face holding 753 forward. Indistinct human face appears to be registering anger. This SCP really does not like itself. Illustrated climbing vine. Euclid, request for Keter classification under review as of blank 2000 something. I wonder why that is. SCP-754 is to be kept under constant surveillance in a biohazard containment chamber. That's probably why. The room must be equipped with a liquid nitrogen emergency coolant system. A shallow planter of standard potting soil has been placed next to 754 to provide a target zone for germination events. No instances of 754 are to be retained outside of use in sanctioned experiments. Material containing 1 may be incinerated. To dispose of 754, the room must be sealed and liquid nitrogen piped in until the ambient temperature has been at or below 150 Kelvin for a minimum of 15 minutes. 754, any surrounding soil, and all instances of 1 shall be incinerated save for 1 paper fragment of approximately 25 square centimeters, which is to be treated as seed stock with a freshly illustrated sheet. If 754 germinates from a location other than the provided planter, the site should be sterilized with hydrochloric acid. In the event of containment system failure of 754, its growth will be inhibited by temperatures below 250 Kelvin until automated systems are restored. 1 standard sheet of paper with hand-drawn illustrations is to be placed on the table as needed. Current procedures call for the replacement and disposal of the oldest illustration once the newer sheet shows evidence of buds. At the current rate of growth, replacement should occur every 2 to 3 days. If this rate is observed to increase, notify the Level 3 supervisor, as of blank Dr. Cairns. Under no circumstances are any SCP objects containing hand-drawn illustrations to be allowed within 20 meters of 1. Description: SCP-754 is superficially similar to Convolvulus arvenus, a flowering vine commonly known as morning glory or field bindweed in North America. Its leaves and vine are red with delicate black veins. Flowers, when present, are red with black mottling. 754 will propagate in a manner similar to bindweed. However, it can overgrow any object, including those typically resistant to plant growth and water too deep for root stabilization. It can attain a top growth rate of blank meters per hour. It is inhibited by temperatures below 250 Kelvin, which is negative 23 Celsius, and enters a dormant state when chilled below 150 Kelvin, which is negative 123 Celsius. Maybe this isn't Kelvin, because I don't think that's how Kelvin works. I thought the whole point of Kelvin was to not be compared to anything else. But 754 is not limited to normal growth patterns and can grow in paper media as an illustration designated 1. It manifests itself as an additional image in hand-rendered illustrations, indistinguishable from the original contents in terms of medium, style, and scale. 1 will propagate through the white space remaining on the material as well as overgrowing illustrated objects. The growth rate is constant in the scale of the illustration. Consequently, the linear spread across the material is not constant and depends on the illustration. 1 can also propagate to other illustrations within a 15-meter radius of the original medium. The time required to do so decreases with proximity and physical contact. Illustrations containing 754-1 demonstrate a mild mind-altering property. Individuals below 80 on the psychic resistance scale will insist that 1 has always been present in the illustration, and those below 90 on the psychic resistance scale will be reluctant to destroy 754 unless prompted to or trained. Illustrations containing 1 will animate and change in response to the growth of 1. Illustrations appear to be moving at 1/10 speed slow motion. It has not been determined if this occurs as a stop motion effect or as a constant movement. Volitional beings depicted in the illustration will react to one and utilize other depicted objects as appropriate. The most common reaction observed is the attempt by individuals in the illustration to restrict or directly impede the growth of one. When no white space remains on any illustrated material within range, 754 will germinate within 5 meters of one. This occurs no more than 3 hours after a complete overgrowth of all white space in range. It will tend to appear where a non-anomalous plant could germinate. SCP-754 instances can be destroyed by incineration, however any root fragments left intact will be stimulated and cause immediate regeneration of 754 within 6 hours. Additionally, any chordate with mucous membrane contact to the ashes within 12 hours will become a new medium for 754 growth. Further instances of 754 will then erupt from the pétiche of the plant. Dormant 754 can be incinerated without inducing generation. Root fragments must still be destroyed to prevent normal plant regrowth. No side effects have been observed from the incineration of material bearing SCP-754-1. Addendum 1. Circumstances of Retrieval. It was first brought to the attention of the Foundation when police officers in Blank, France, arrested an extremely agitated office worker who was found attacking courtyard weeds with a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. Foundation intervention was required when 45 infestations of one subsequently developed in residential areas. Due to recommendations made by an office worker in custody, the containment team suffered no casualties. Following interrogation that led to current containment procedures, the captured person of interest was released and anesthetized, though he is under periodic surveillance for future encounters with 754. Addendum 2. After the events of Experiment 7, personnel with figurative tattoos, brandings, or other decorative body modifications are forbidden from coming within 20 meters of 754, save for participation in improved experimentation. So it sounds like the reason they want to call it a Keter entry is because it can just sort of take over people that have tattoos. And that brings us to Watch for the White Bird. Which, Keter, containment pending. Okay. Possible security footage of SCP-755-A unconfirmed. The capture of SCP-755-A is to be considered a K-class priority to all personnel assigned to 755. Should A be captured alive, all possible effort is to be made to ensure their compliance, and they are to be delivered to Humanoid Detaining Facility 17 for questioning and study. Any and all instances of B discovered are to be reported immediately to a superior and destroyed if possible. After encountering an instance of B, the discovering party is to seek a safe location within view of the instance and to remain observant for their own safety until the arrival of MTF Gamma 30, then obey any orders or requests for assistance made by the MTF leader at that time. Description: SCP-755-A, hereafter referred to as the Vandal, is a graffiti vandal who was thought at the time of the archiving of this report to be in San Redacted Ia. Okay. Though the work of the artist has been cited in 8 other cities in the continental US and Europe, including Denver, Colorado, Newark, New Jersey, and Munich something. Security footage shows the Vandal to be a light-skinned individual with a slim build who stands approximately 2 meters in height. From the basic body type shown in the footage, it is assumed, though not confirmed, that the Vandal is male. The Vandal regularly travels large cities, leaving behind instances of B. B, hereafter referred to as the Graffito, is a graffito. Style and form varied by instance that invariably reads with incorrect capitalization remaining consistent in all instances, "Watch for the white bird." The graffito is typically written directly onto surfaces with a marker or paint, or in some recorded instances, list available to personnel with level 3 clearance or higher upon request, inscribed on scrap material and left in prominent locations. The writing materials appear to have no anomalous properties, and several recovered instances are stored for study in the low-risk materials sector of Site 93. Persons who read the graffito are invariably injured or killed in apparent accidents involving a white bird of some description. Extensive research has confirmed a statistical correlation between the accidents and having read the graffito, and that instances of the phrase written by persons other than the Vandal do not correlate with accidents or injuries to any measurable extent. SCP-755 was brought to the attention of the Foundation when an EMT discovered a journal belonging to the late investigative journalist Graham Scott on the scene of the 7-car pileup that resulted in the deaths of Scott and blank other individuals. The journal details Scott's attempts to locate and interview the Vandal, who he believed was attempting to warn the victims of the white bird sick in order to save their lives. The white bird mentioned in the graffito and Scott's writing has not been confirmed to exist. In many events, no bird can be confirmed to have been seen or been involved outside the direct testimony of the injured party, with some or all other witnesses claiming to have not seen any such avian at all, or with eyewitnesses disagree on the positioning, exact coloration, or species of the bird. Addendum 1. Despite Scott's assertions, many Foundation researchers suspect that the Vandals' role in the events preceded by viewing the Graffito are causal rather than prophetic, and that the Vandal seeks to further some agenda of their own, or merely enjoys the thrill of causing suffering and death. In light of this possibility, and given the established correlation between instances of the Graffito and injuries or fatalities among otherwise unrelated persons, 755 has been granted Keter level containment required status, and MTF Gamma 30 White Watch has been created to liaise with law enforcement to capture the Vandal for study and questioning and destroy instances of the Graffito as they are located. Addendum 2. On redacted appears to have bypassed data expunged, normal for an instance of the Graffito, but the addition of the words "I'm sorry" and a small cursive font. The event was filed as unusual by data expunged. Why is it written like this? Why is the redacted just halfway through words? There has to be a person. There is a person who writes these articles. I can only assume it's a specific person, because only sometimes are the redacteds and the data expunged halfway through words. So whoever it is that does these, if you must redact your writings, either redact them after the word has completed, or don't fucking write for the website. For God's sake, man, come on. 375. Document 375. Travers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Sorry about the flight delay. I'm sure you all saw the maintenance guys cleaning the graffiti off at the boarding ramp. Now that that's all out of the way, we can get ready for takeoff. It's a beautiful sunny day in LA, and weather conditions are absolutely perfect for flying. This is Flight 279er to Houston, by the way, so if you aren't supposed to be on board, you should go ahead and disembark while you still can. 21 minutes removed for brevity. This is your captain speaking. I'm sure you've all seen the smoke, but don't panic, it was just a bird that got sucked into the engine. In a moment, the oxygen mask will drop as I prepare for an emergency landing. Put those on and follow the flight attendant's instructions, and we'll have you guys safely on the ground in no time. Again, please do everything the flight attendant asks and remain calm. Everything will be just fine. I'm going to just go ahead and assume everything was not just fine, but that about does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next one, we're going to start with the miniature solar system and then go through the fruit tree, spell check Vasily, sourdough starter, and the groomers. If you liked this episode, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you'll need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.